We gotta get Grandpa out of there. He's down there over a week.
He recorded 2,000 hours of his favorite shows. He hasn't stopped watching TV for days.
What are we gonna do? Time for supper! Meatloaf! And some beers!
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
You're listening to the Mike Kara radio program, Eye on the Nation.
Well, welcome back to our next edition of the Mike Kara radio program, Eye on the Nation. We definitely have our Eye on the Nation, as always, proudly broadcasting from Ocoee, Florida, USA, planet Earth. And my next guest is Miss Linda Bauer. And Linda has been a food and travel columnist for 25 years and written 11 books. And Capitol Hill cooks are the favorites of all the presidents and Congress. And half the proceeds go to helping a hero build homes for disabled veterans. And basically, I want to tell our audience a little bit about what we're doing and kind of the subject of what we're doing and what Linda is actually responding to on reporterconnection.com was we all know about, potlucks, and we all know about dinner parties. And for me, being, a 38-year-old male, going to Sam's Club and just grabbing the biggest thing of whatever, just a certain substance, whatever it might be, throwing it in the cart, and then just heading right off to the party or the church potluck. But it got me thinking that there is a lot of great recipes out there, and the idea of, making something yourself and literally being the life of the party because what you bring to the party. So I wanted to, encourage people to come on and, give us some suggestions that we can make at home that are easy, that are fun, and we'll get to those recipes in just a bit. But Linda, we wanted to mention that we mentioned the book, and you did want to mention about that all the proceeds of the book goes to a special organization. I want to talk about that if we can.
Yes, my husband served as a colonel in the Army, and he was in for 28 years and became a disabled veteran. So I know how difficult it is for these folks. Even though he didn't lose limbs like these guys did, he did get cancer from Agent Orange and that. So I really wanted to help the young men and women who serve our country, and it's a fabulous organization. They buy the land, build the house, and do it exactly to the needs of that particular veteran. And it's been very successful. The book's in its fifth printing. And people, I think the biggest attraction, Mike, is the fact that these are easy recipes. And how much fun is it to have a dinner party and have Ronald Reagan's pumpkin pecan pie and maybe Roosevelt's favorite cake and all kinds of things like that. So it's a real fun, easy book to read and to enjoy, which most people who are foodies like to read cookbooks. And there's a lot to read in this one.
Oh, fantastic. So these recipes that we have here, and we see how many, I think we'll probably get them all in. But now these particular recipes we're going to mention are in the book. We're going to actually put them on our website. And so these recipes that we're going to go through are actually from senators and presidents. I mean, and we even have I don't want to give it away, but we even have a George Washington recipe that was actually written in his own handwriting. So, I mean, this is pretty cool that these recipes, I mean, if you want to talk about being the life of the party, making something that George Washington made is pretty cool.
That's right. And it's nice because you can do both sides of the aisle. I mean, when you have a party, if you want to have discussion, I call them guinea pig parties. When I'm working on a book, I make about 20 recipes and invite about 20 people, and we all get to decide who likes what and what. And the first recipe we're going to talk about was the chicken breast and paprika cream sauce was Harry Reid's favorite. And the night that I had that as part of the party, that was everybody's favorite recipe. So it's kind of a fun to have a blind tasting and see who likes which recipe.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, if we want to get started, and like I said, we want to let our audience know that we will have all the information. But again, since this is a podcast, you can back it up or forward. But yeah, let's go over a little bit about, as we mentioned, that first recipe. It was chicken breasts in paprika cream sauce, and that was a favorite of Senator Harry Reid's from Nevada. And so, yeah, if you could just kind of take us through what we need and how it's prepared, that'd be great.
Well, it's really quite simple. The only thing that involves a little bit more time than some of these type of recipes is you boil the onion for 3 or 4 minutes, chop it up, and then you add some butter, paprika, and, of course, 4 skinless chicken breasts, some wine and chicken stock, and some heavy cream. And before you know it, that sauce is absolutely fantastic, and your house will smell so good. And you bring the sauce to a boil, and you take it from the heat, and then you cook it over low heat just for 2 or 3 minutes. So it sounds like when you taste it, you think, oh my gosh, this person really worked. It doesn't take much time at all to do the whole thing. And, you bake the chicken breasts and the thing for just a short period of time. It really doesn't take that much time, but it is truly one of the best recipes you'll ever eat. I think it's fantastic, and it serves 4, or you can double or triple it, which is what I did the night I had the party. I actually quadrupled it. But it's really a fun thing, and like I say, people love to start talking politics, or my husband was a social aide at the White House, so they like to talk about state dinners and what it's like to put on one of those. So we do have a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, that like you're saying, that a lot of these recipes, they sound like they take a lot of time, but like I said, in just like about a minute, you had mentioned that's basically it. And as we're also mentioning that particular recipe served 4, and again, our audience will see that on the website, but it's not that hard to kind of double or triple. So you could prepare this for 50 people essentially. It just matters how much time and money you want to put into it then. That's right. That's exactly it, Mike. Oh, okay. And now another recipe that we have here that sounds pretty cool is Michelle Obama's apple cobbler. And can you tell us a little bit about this recipe? This recipe was one of her favorites, and I actually saw it in a magazine. She was the first. I've done 5 of these books, and I was the first president that never sent me any recipes. Usually they have White House cards that come out, and they're really pretty, but I wrote to her twice, and then I saw it in one of the magazines, and I just used it in the book because the book had to go to press. And she uses a pie crust, so that's already made. So you just get 3 sheets of refrigerated pie crust. You line a couple of them in the bottom of a 9 by 13 pan, and then you can just buy a bag of frozen peeled apples. If you're not much of a cook, throw it in with what you'd put in an apple pie, which is brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg. And it's really a simple recipe. The thing that's kind of interesting to anybody who cooks very often is it bakes a very long time on a slower oven than normal. So it's on 325, not 350, and it bakes several hours. So it comes out and makes your house smell good, but after 3 hours, it's all ready, and it's not especially sweet. It's just a very nice recipe, and I did it on Better TV. In fact, I'm going to be on Better TV next Wednesday, and it's the same thing. It's an easy recipe to cook, and it makes a huge amount, so everybody can get a nice slice with a side of ice cream or whatever, and it's a really fun recipe that obviously is a family favorite. And now, Linda, we come, as we were talking before, George Washington's eggnog. And as you had mentioned, that this actual recipe was discovered actually in his own handwriting. So it's assumed that he himself came up with it, or at least somebody in that era came up with it then. Yes, and the interesting thing in this book is I was able to, every recipe that you could find from a president, they allowed me to put in, because sometimes you'll get a book and it'll have one celebrity recipe, but I actually have several. I have Martha Washington's candy in the book, which is great, but this eggnog we serve at Christmas time, and everybody loves it, and it's kind of interesting because he has a whole pint of brandy, a half of pint of rye whiskey, and a half a pint of Jamaican rum, and a quarter pint of sherry, and a dozen of eggs, and you just whip up those eggs and get them just frothy in a way. A quart of cream and a quart of milk and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Could not be easier. Put it together, and I guarantee your guests will be talking all night about it, because it's a beautiful thing. Sprinkle a little nutmeg or something on top. It is a great eggnog, and everybody's delighted. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It is so much fun to have something that came from Mount Vernon and George Washington. And he actually I actually got several recipes from the folks there at Mount Vernon, and they're very interesting. Cakes, cookies, all that kind of stuff. And there's by the way, there's a restaurant there. You can actually eat at a wonderful restaurant out Mount Vernon. I highly recommend it. And they serve many of the family favorites there. And I didn't know that till I was up there the last time. We used to live in Washington, and I didn't even know about it then. So maybe some of your listeners will enjoy that. Oh, okay. That sounds good. And another recipe we have here that sounds very interesting is Franklin Roosevelt's birthday cake. Now, this was something that he was baking himself then, or was baked for, or?
I imagine it's something they served him on his birthday.
I've served him on his birthday.
Very few of them, actually. Some of the ones that were alive, when I would contact their families or the library, this took me many years to collect all these recipes. A couple of them, somebody said, oh, yeah, he used to make this before he got really famous or elected. So I'm not really sure about that one. But I have to tell you, it's a really good cake, and it's kind of a fun thing, to make at home. And I can understand why he liked it. There's actually several really good, Woodrow Wilson's tea cakes are in there, and those are really good, too. We've used a lot of these for birthday parties, and it's kind of interesting. The thing that blew my mind was when I did this book, the very first one, the American Sampler Cookbook, during the Reagan administration, I thought, here I'm asking these people for their favorite recipes. I'll get all desserts or all appetizers. How am I ever going to get a book with so many chapters that will make a really decent cookbook? And isn't it a miracle when you look at it? There's 12 chapters in this book, and they're all almost perfectly balanced. With appetizers, main dishes, side dishes. That blew my mind. Like, whose favorite recipe would ever be baked beans? But it was John McCain's. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that.
You think about it.
Yeah, that is something there. Yeah, so the Franklin Roosevelt's birthday cake. That's basically a simple cake recipe. Or is there any special touches?
I tell you the thing that I think when they look at the recipe on your website, they'll find interesting. I thought it was interesting because it had a cup of black cold coffee, and how often do you see that with cocoa? So it's almost a mocha flavor with the combination. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, so yeah, there's different flavors in all these recipes. Sometimes to make them unique, and that's because it might be that, like we're saying, that the coffee there, that's a very interesting touch. So that's what's great about recipes, that there's a little personality of someone in each recipe. Sometimes
that's right, because the morning you're going to make that cake, just make an extra pot of a little bit extra in your pot of coffee, and that last cup, it can be cold. You just put it in the cake, and that's what I've done. I've made it a couple times. It's just kind of an interesting take on it. And I think the other thing that's most fascinating about this book is these people have been all over the world. They've eaten everywhere, just like I have. I've been a travel writer. I have no bucket list. I've been everywhere in the world I could ever possibly want to go. And from those, these are their favorites. So it makes a very unique collection like nobody else. You might get a cookbook of one superstar on the Food Network. Well, that's their experience. But these are 435 people plus all of the presidents. So it's kind of an interesting, unique club of people who've donated to this book.
Oh, okay. Another recipe we want to mention here is LBJ's, of course, Lyndon Johnson's favorite chili. Now, was this a recipe that he had made himself, or?
I don't know if he made it himself, but I know when I was at the ranch. Have you ever gone up there to where he lived?
Not yet.
You can actually go up there. In fact, you can see the family burial plot and all that stuff. And that whole area is kind of an interesting thing. So I put as much story as I could. Right before the chili recipe in the book, I put a whole page of the information that I got when I visited the library. And I thought it was very, very fun to see that he liked this. It's just ground beef like anybody else would make, and with an onion, garlic. I thought it was. I've never seen oregano and cumin and chili powder all in one. And usually you see one or the other, but you got all of them, and it makes wonderful chili. In fact, one of my readers called me one day and said, I made that chili, and then we used it on hot dogs the next day after I cooked it a little bit. And, oh, man, it's better than any hot dog shop I've ever been to. So I thought that was kind of a unique thing, that people take a recipe and then they change it for their own use at home.
Oh, fantastic. And And another recipe we have here is Reagan's favorite macaroni and cheese. And so this was one of Ronald Reagan's favorites then?
Yes, and it would be yours too if you tasted it. It is so good. I did it on Fox and Friends a few months ago, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's easy to make for that. And the difference that you'll see over some recipes about his mac and cheese, he uses they also use a little bit of egg, and that egg almost makes it custardy. It almost puffs up when you make it. And, of course, 3 cups of sharp cheddar cheese can't hurt anybody. It tastes so good. So it's with a cup of warm milk, which is a little bit unique for some of the other recipes that I've seen for mac and cheese, and it's really good. But his favorite pie is my favorite out of the whole book, and it's a pumpkin pecan pie. I've never anywhere in the world had a pie like that, and it's fantastic. It's the goodness of pumpkin with the sweetness of the pecans on top, and it is so wonderful. I've never had anybody that didn't taste it say, wow, I want another piece.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, a lot of great recipes in there. And of course, people like me, well, I'm trying to be an inspiring chef or cook, but I mean, for people who are just trying to make something simple and easy, I mean, would you say that all the recipes are easier? I mean, is there certain ones that are more advanced, or?
I would tell you, I think they're pretty easy, to be honest with you. I think they're very busy people, so they're not going to have a lot of complicated things. Senator Lugar from Indiana's wife sent a note, and I included, by the way, that was an idea that my husband had, is when they send you letters about why it's their favorite recipe, include that in the book. People like to see the personality of the person, and you do. It does come through, so we put little boxes for anybody who shared, and some said, like, this is my mother-in-law's favorite, and Charles Grassley did that for the cocoa cake, which is so good. And certain ones maybe sent 4 or 5 recipes. If I had space, I put it in the book because it tells you a little bit about their taste and their talents. And I think that's fascinating. You know, that to me gives a little warmth to the person of why they like it. It's also like a patchwork quilt of America, because you'll have people up in the north offering wild blueberry recipes and somebody down in Louisiana with, Gulf shrimp. It's kind of fun and a way to celebrate our country.
Oh, so yeah, in the book is we're mentioning, the cool thing is that there's desserts, there's main courses, side dishes. You had even mentioned there's baked beans listed. So I mean, especially in a book like this, there's whatever it's called for. If somebody says, well, you've got to bring a dessert, or you've got to bring an entree, you're covered then.
That's right, and there's I think over 380 recipes in it, so there's a good amount of recipes. You're going to find something that meets your interest, and there's some unique things. There's some wild game recipes in it from the guys out in Wyoming and Colorado, and just about every imaginable thing. There's vegan recipes that are some really good vegetable dishes, so no matter what your taste or talent is, and let's face it, nothing better than buying a book and giving it to someone as a gift. I have lots of people say, instead of taking a bottle of wine, I buy this book because it helps our troops, and people will never throw away a book like this because they'll want to, read it, use it for themselves, and it's a great gift, and I believe that. I think it really is.
And we had mentioned, Linda, about George Washington's eggnog. So, I mean, is there like, different cocktails and drinks as well, other than that in there too?
Yes, there are. And it's funny because when we did the party, we did a couple of the recipes. I think it was Monroe had a cocktail in there. And another one that I did a cooking demonstration weekend thing at the Biltmore, and we did LBJ's tea. And you can serve it hot or cold, and it's really quite good. And we were laughing because one of the people in my cooking class said, well, I'm going to make this spiced tea at home. I love it. It's got lemon juice and orange juice and sugar and cinnamon and tea bags and stuff. So it's not very hard to make. It's quite an easy thing. And he said, but I'm spiking it with vodka. So when I get home, I'm going to make this because I like it, but I'm going to put some liquor in it when I have a party and tell people. And they were already in the class deciding what recipes they were going to make for a party at home to surprise their guests. So it is it's very unique. You have to cook when you have people over anyway. You might as well use some of the president's favorites because it makes it so much more interesting. And in the end, you help our vets. Some of these veterans who receive these homes, some have lost both legs. We had one who lost his arms and his legs. And the latest house they just built for one, the bullet went through his eyes. He's only 24 years old and he has no eyes. So I don't think there's an easier way to help a vet than helping a hero. So I was just really happy to be part of that and glad to see that some of the profit, and especially in the front, it tells the story of that charity, and there's an address, and if people get the book and say, hey, I want to give a little more, they can send it directly, and it's an all-volunteer organization, so it's really a wonderful experience. Last year they gave 22 homes away, and when you think how much work that is, that's a lot.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, as far as people getting the book, they could get it on your website, or is it available in bookstores or?
Oh yes, it's in bookstores, and the easiest one probably is Amazon. It's so easy to order it there, and then they can see all my books. They can Google it. I've done 11 books, and 4 of them have gone. The whole proceeds went to charities, so they can look if they like World Vision or literacy or the Red Cross. I've done a lot of books for different charities that I believe in. I believe in cooking for a cause. I think it's really an important way to share our food and our friendship.
Oh, fantastic! So that's great. So 11 books. Wow. So you're pretty much an old pro at this. That you pretty much have a recipe, and so I mean, when you have a party, then you're going to be prepared, then, huh?
Yes, I am. I really my book series with my husband, Recipes from Historic America, is so interesting and fun. One day we'll have to get together and talk about that for your listeners, because it's historic places that are great restaurants. So it's a fun way to travel and visit all these wonderful restaurants throughout our country. I'm very big on supporting America.
Yeah, exactly. And so people could do that by buying the book. And again, we said a lot of great recipes, and so it's great that and all these recipes are in one place and in one book, and it's very convenient that they were brought together. Because I don't know, has there been besides this book anything similar to this, or is this a new idea?
So when I was doing it, my publisher said that they had, when they go to search to do a thing, they had never found one that had Congress and all the presidents, and I can understand why, because honestly, if I wasn't doing for charity, there were times I would have given up. It was such hard work. It took me many years to do this. It's a tough job, believe me. Just for one recipe from Hillary Clinton, I had to call her office 12 times. So you can imagine, it gets frustrating after a while. But like I say, my whole goal was to help the troops and get the word out and use it as a calling card so people knew about helping a hero. That was my entire idea, was to help the troops. So it worked, but it was a tremendous amount of work. And then Teddy Kennedy passed away, and he had sent me this lovely letter and this recipe, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I got Scott Brown, who took his place. So I called Kennedy's son, and he said, after 12 calls also, and I got a hold of him, and he said, yes, please use my dad's recipe. That's my favorite too, and please use what he wrote. So it was a difficult task, let me tell you.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So we encourage the audience to check out the and there's, like we said, that there's so many recipes, and now as far as the presidents there, I don't know if you calculate it, but how many actual president recipes were there then? I mean, as far as like the number of presidents.
There was only one president that I looked high and low for, and I could not get his, and so I did a story about him. But and then I found it after I did. In fact, if I do a sequel to this book, I've been approached to do a sequel to it, I would use his. But I tried to include more than one from each of the presidents. So, there's 44 presidents, but a lot of them have 2 or 3 recipes in there. I think Washington probably has 5 or 6, so there's more than that. And it's, like I say, I tried to share everything I could with the reader, because that's what my goal was, to make them say, wow, I am knocked over by this. And obviously the response has been good, since it's been in so many printings, and people just love this kind of a way to help others, but yet enjoy it with their family. And Capitol Hill Cooks was kind of a catchy title. I think they can remember that.
Yeah, and one president that I'm always a big fan of, and I'm interested to wonder what kind of recipes he had, was Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, was he included? I mean, he wasn't the one that you didn't find then.
No. Teddy Roosevelt's in there. In fact, I want to say, I think there's actually 2 recipes from him. We could look. That's another thing. The one that I didn't find, you probably want to know, was Millard Fillmore.
Oh, okay.
So I did a whole page on the story about him, because he was supposed to be a gourmet, and but that was a difficult experience. And then I did find it. It was some beef recipe, but I thought that was pretty funny. But Abraham Lincoln, I have several of his, and Grant has a wonderful lemon pie that I actually make at home a lot. Some of them become your family favorite, and that's your go-to recipe because it's easy or whatever, and people like it. And some of the meatloaf ones are really easy. Nixon had a good meatloaf that's really easy that I use all the time now. So it's kind of a funny thing, you know. But Teddy Roosevelt had a clove cake that's excellent.
Oh,
and I think he also had he had biscuits. They called them Fat Rascals. It's on page 316, and that's pretty funny to make biscuits. And that's the thing, when I was so lucky, a lady volunteered. I was on a world cruise when I was editing the book, and she was a food historian, and I said, what am I going to do with these ones that say lard in that? And she said, it's no problem. So she did that part of the book. She switched them to butter or whatever when they did, and they came out fine. So that was really nice. Several people helped with this book because it was a huge undertaking.
Oh, as we mentioned that the book contains different types of like you were saying, meatloaf and pie. So I mean, there's more than one thing by a different president or congressperson then.
Right. And if the folks want to take a peek at it, if they go to Amazon and click on the cover, you can see the entire book, which I think is wonderful of Amazon to do. So people get a really good idea, and I triple indexed it. I put it according to the state, to the politician, and to the recipe. So it's really easy. If you say, hey, tonight we're going to make something by George Washington, you can easily find it.
Oh, so yeah, it's all indexed. Yeah, so if you want a particular president, and because we were saying, because I know a lot of us know about Dolly Madison and Martha Washington, and we know about their legend, in the kitchen and making all sorts of sweets. So I mean, it's interesting then to actually learn, about the presidents themselves and what they make or enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's fun. Like the other night, I had a friend say, oh, we have some people that are moving here from Kansas. I think I'm going to use your book and find something that's one of the, and that's what they did. They looked up one of the recipes from Kansas, and that's what they made. They said it was Sam Brownback's Napa salad, which is out of this world. And she said, oh my gosh, they were so happy. So it's an easy way to use it. She goes, I'm always using the index because it's simple.
Oh, okay.
That was a cute idea.
Yeah, it definitely is. So the book sounds great, and if people are looking for opportunities to find something new, and again, as we were mentioning, that it's a great conversation starter because it was actually a president's dish or a congressman's dish, and you could, because I know, like I was mentioning, Teddy Roosevelt, and I have a lot of favorites. So I mean, there's so much more personality it seems like, and story you could put into the food as well as just serving the food.
That's right. And if you do a buffet, I just put cards, and I'll put the dish and the name of the person, either the congressman or senator or the president, and people love that. They'll go around and come back and say, oh man, I like this. And it's just a fun way to serve a meal. Sometimes I do a whole meal on a president. I did one night, we had Thomas Jefferson's chicken fricassee and his corn pudding and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a fun. You can just, if they have enough recipes that they've contributed, you can make the meal just around them, because he's a popular one. That's actually what started the book. I was speaking at a ladies group with my first book, The American Sampler Cookbook, and it had the President, Reagan, and Congress. And all of the money went to the Red Cross Famine Relief Fund. And a woman raised her hand and said, could you please tell me, what did Thomas Jefferson like to eat? He's my favorite. And another person said, and I liked Abraham Lincoln. That's what you should do a book. And that's when I started back in 1980-something. Isn't that something?
Yeah, wow.
And I just thought it'll never happen, because how are you ever going to find them all? It seemed impossible. But it took me quite a while, but it worked out. It was harder to get this Congress because of the Obamacare and that. They wouldn't answer their phones, and on the ones that I sent letters to that didn't reply, I had to call each of them. Oh, my, talk about tedious.
Oh, yeah.
Phones were all, it was during the Obamacare thing, and it was so tied up that you couldn't get through to them. So I thought, this is never going to work out into a book, but somehow it did, so I'm thankful.
Oh, okay. And now we're mentioning that people could get it, on Amazon and all that. But I mean, is there do you have a website for the book, or yourself, or?
Sure, they can Google Bauer Books. If you just go Bauer Books, and that's my website there.
Oh, okay.
And if they want to contact me, you can see me at my appearances on the Today Show and stuff are all on the web because when you're on there, they put it on. And if somebody who's listening ever needs a speaker, I speak all over the world, and I love to do that about either raising funds for our troops or literacy because I served on the Texas State Board of Education, or if they're interested in food and travel, that's what I do all the time. And I would be more than happy to do that, especially if it entails helping a hero. I sure would be happy to come.
Oh, so you would come. So you'd be available to come to Orlando, Florida, if there would be a need.
Yes. In fact, I just recently got invited there.
Oh, great. We'll have to check you out when you're going to be, if it's a public event. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. I just love it. And, it's such a unique vocation. How many people get to be a food and traveler? I've been a columnist for 25 years, so I've written tons of articles, and I really enjoy it. I only tell people if it's a place that I would go to, I would tell you. I'm not one of those people who just says everything's great. I try to pick the best of the best. I used to write a column called Quest for the Best, and I believe in that.
Oh, that sounds great. Okay, Linda, well, thank you so much. So I think our audience is definitely on the right foot and got a lot of great recipes here. And if they want all of the recipes they can get the book, and then they could be sent. And like you were mentioning, Linda, and I want to reiterate is, which I think is totally cool that you had suggested, is having a presidential or congressional buffet where you actually create your own party with all the dishes from the presidents, and that sounds pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to mention today?
I just want to say I hope everybody listening gets a copy of Capitol Hill Cooks. It's great for your nation. It's great for your veterans, and they've done so much for us. This is some easy way for us to help them.
Okay, my guest has been Linda Bauer, and you've been listening to the Mike Care radio program, Eye on the Nation, and please catch us again next time.